Right, bye-bye.
Good evening and welcome to Look North. On the programme tonight, a 14-year-old boy has drowned near a popular waterfall in West Yorkshire. And a century of shake, rattle and roll. It's the 100th birthday of this vintage tram car. Thanks for joining us. First tonight, it's a tragic story that sadly does tend to come after hot weather. A 14-year-old boy has drowned near a popular waterfall in West Yorkshire. The emergency services were called out last night to a beauty spot near the village of Cullingworth. It was, of course, the first hot day after lockdown restrictions were eased. Sabia Pervez sent this report earlier.
West Yorkshire Police have confirmed that a 14-year-old boy has tragically died here in Cullingworth. There was a huge emergency response here at Goitstock yesterday evening following reports that there was somebody struggling in the water. Now, this is a popular local beauty spot, and residents have told me that teenagers frequently come here when the weather gets warmer. Now, West Yorkshire Police have issued a statement in which they say police were called out yesterday evening at 6 p.m. to reports of a concern for safety at Goitstock Waterfall. A 14-year-old male had entered the water. Emergency services attended and recovered a body from the water. They also say there are not thought to be suspicious circumstances, and a file has been prepared for the coroner.
Sabia Pervez there. An 18-year-old woman has been raped in a car in Sheffield last night, according to police. Large crowds gathered at Endcliffe Park yesterday. The incident happened at about 11:30 in the evening in a silver or grey Mercedes parked near the entrance. The suspect is described as Asian, in his 20s, and wearing a white T-shirt and black trousers. Anyone with any information is being urged to contact South Yorkshire Police. Next, now, it's something that affects many of us, from the money it costs to fix our cars to the cash that councils spend filling them in. Yes, I'm talking about potholes, and a new survey says it's going to cost £1.5 billion to get every road in our region to a reasonable condition. Here's Dave Edwards.
At best, they're an eyesore, maybe a bumpy ride. At worst, they can cause accidents and injuries. And after so many of you told us about the potholes on your local roads, there are plenty of places we could have told this story. Here in Norton, this is Langton Road, which is being resurfaced today. For some living nearby, the work is long overdue.
I check my tyres more regularly because every time you hit them, you let some pressure out. So I find I need to check my tyres more.
Are you pleased to see this happening?
Well, it's an improvement, isn't it?
Number one issue I would say that people do contact me about is potholes, is the state of the roads, and rightfully so. And obviously I use the roads as well, so I fully understand their concerns. They want to see action. I'm pleased that we finally got this taking place. I understand the frustration.
In June, North Yorkshire County Council will make a major change, abandoning the outsourcing of road maintenance and taking it in-house instead.
We're giving the highways contract to a so-called TECL company, one of our own companies, and it's called NY Highways. So it's an in-house, arm's-length company, and we do believe, because there will be no profit margins for shareholders, any additional monies we make can be ploughed back into the service.
But the Asphalt Industry Alliance is warning that to get every road in the region back into what it calls reasonable condition, it'd cost £1.5 billion, the kind of money that councils just don't have.
The conditions of the roads across the country and in Yorkshire are deteriorating. It's largely due to a lack of investment into local authorities to enable them to carry out the works.
Soon this road will be back in a decent condition, but drivers won't have to go far to find yet another pothole. Dave Edwards, BBC Look North, Norton.
Well, we asked the Department for Transport for a response, and they said the government is providing £2.5 billion in funding over the next 5 years to help councils improve their roads. Well, next tonight, would you like to swap Batley in West Yorkshire for Boston, Massachusetts? Nothing against Batley, of course, but Boston does have one of the world's most prestigious universities, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, or MIT as it's widely known. Well, one sixth former can look forward to making it her new home soon. She's been awarded a fully funded scholarship to study computer science. Corinne Wheatley has been to meet her.
Leaving home for university is always a big moment, but for Chloe Smith, it will be a dream come true.
Still, sometimes I don't believe it. I think it's some form of practical joke.
She's been accepted onto a computer science degree at the world-famous Massachusetts Institute of Technology in the US.
When I found out, I refreshed the page and I saw the confetti and then the first line saying, welcome to the MIT class of 2025. And I barreled down the stairs to my parents. I'm quite surprised I didn't fall through the ceiling. I don't think I've ever ran so fast. And I burst into the living room and I went, I just got into MIT.
MIT is highly competitive and currently sits at the top of some global university rankings. But Chloe's application stood out because of her extracurricular activities, which won her a Diana Award last year, and because of her passion for robotics. Her fully funded scholarship, worth $84,000 a year, will cover everything she needs. How are your parents feeling about you going to university so far away?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of my dad trying to convince my mum that it's okay, but they're both incredibly excited and they don't fully know what I'm going to do next, but neither do I.
When Chloe was in Year 8, she ended up out of education for around a year and a half due to a chronic pain condition, something she still manages now.
I think Chloe is a really powerful and inspirational role model to young people in the Leeds City region. What she's done is incredible, but she's done it because she set herself a goal and she's worked really hard to achieve that goal.
Well, it wasn't the most advantaged or anything like that. I was just a normal student. I still am, to that extent. And I think through hard work and basically having a plan and thinking, no matter what people say, even though it seems you're kind of shooting for the stars, if you're willing to look for the opportunities, then you can follow them and really achieve amazing things.
Finally tonight, how would we have been travelling to work 100 years ago? Well, some of your great-grandparents may have travelled on this very tram. Leeds car number 345 is celebrating its 100th anniversary this week, and it's now been beautifully restored at the Cryche Tramway Village in Derbyshire. Mark Ansell has taken a ride.
We're travelling back a century to a time when this electric tramcar was the new way to travel to work in Leeds.
Take me back 100 years. What would it have been like riding the tram?
Crushed, because it being the cheapest form of transport, people would want to use it, and it would be a slow ride because stops would be within a quarter of a mile of each other, and the conductor would have to get round everybody to collect their fares.
100 years ago, the upstairs here was used by workmen. You were allowed to smoke up here, and it's rather cramped. Everyone else sat or stood downstairs, where smoking was forbidden, as you can see. A bit more head height, a bit more room, but still, it would have been quite packed in here. Back in 1921, travelling by tram was a cost-effective option.
They would travel within Leeds city centre, but also out to the suburbs like Pudsey, Guiseley, places like that. And it would only have cost them 1 old penny to travel within Leeds and 2 old pennies to travel outside Leeds. And interestingly enough, when the buses took over, the bus cost would have been 7 old pennies.
By 1948, the 345 tramcar was taken out of service, overtaken by buses and motor cars. It ended up in a dilapidated state at Cryche Tramway Village, where it had to be extensively restored.
It was virtually stripped down to its frame and then built up with new materials where necessary, but some of the features we tried to retain, like the signs themselves, obviously cleaned up and restored over a period of 4 or 5 years.
You can take a ride on the 345 yourself when the museum reopens a week on Monday, 100 years on from when it first trundled along the tram tracks in Leeds. Mark Ansell, BBC Look North, Cryche in Derbyshire.
Oh, that looks brilliant, doesn't it? Let's go to Abby now for the weather forecast.
Hello again, good evening. Our weather's set to turn much colder over the next few days with the potential of seeing some wintry showers on Bank Holiday Monday. Tomorrow will feel much colder, but it will stay largely dry. We do have high pressure largely dominating our forecast the next few days, so although colder with a chilly northeasterly wind and Atlantic air, it will stay largely dry with some sunny spells, but the winds will strengthen through Sunday and we're then at risk of seeing some wintry showers as things turn even colder into the start of next week. Overnight, dry but turning very cloudy, lows of about 6 or 7 Celsius, so a lot more cloud around as we start the day tomorrow, and it will clear away, but it will be a very gradual process. So sunny spells starting to develop tomorrow afternoon, but feeling much fresher. Temperatures at best reaching around 10 or 11 Celsius, with the cloud hanging on to eastern coastal parts, and here it'll feel even chillier with that northeasterly wind, highs of just 8 or 9 degrees. So nationally then, you can see that there will be a big change in our weather. It'll settle down across parts of Scotland where there's been some very heavy rain. Here it'll be dry with some sunny spells. Elsewhere, a lot of cloud initially, but you can see on the graphics it will eventually start to brighten. Temperatures ranging from anywhere between 8 and 16 degrees, so a real contrast. The next few days then, although turning colder, will be largely settled, but then through Sunday and into Monday, it does look to turn potentially quite windy and maybe even wintry into the start of next week. Friday then, a very similar day, a lot of cloud around initially, particularly affecting eastern parts where it will continue to feed in off the North Sea, but further west there'll be skies brightening with temperatures ranging from between 9 and 13 degrees. This is how Saturday looks then. Again, a largely dry and settled day with the best of the sunshine probably across Scotland and Northern Ireland, feeding into northwest England eventually, but hanging on to a bit more cloud along the east coast. Temperatures fresher than it has been, but feeling decent enough in sheltered sunny spots, particularly in the west. Then turning colder and potentially a little bit wintry into the start of next week. Temperatures by day only reaching about 6 or 7 degrees.
That's all from the Late Team. Good night.